Matthew chapter 2 picks up where chapter 1 left off. Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the reign of King Herod. And about that time, some wise men from the eastern lands arrived in Jerusalem, and they asked, "Where is this newborn King of the Jews? We saw his star as it rose, and we have come to worship him." And you can read the rest of this section here, and King Herod was disturbed by this, and he felt threatened by this. So, of course, you probably know the story. He says he wants to find out about this guy so he can worship him, but that's not what he wanted to do. He wanted to kill the child. And so the wise men outsmarted him, because after all, they were wise men. And it says in verse 13, after the wise men were gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, and he said, "Get up, flee to Egypt with the child and his mother, and stay there until I tell you to return, because Herod is going to search for the child to kill him." And that night, Joseph left for Egypt with the child and Mary, his mother, and they stayed there until Herod's death. And this fulfilled what the Lord had spoken through the prophet: "I called my son out of Egypt." And I don't know if you can pay attention to this. If you know anything about the story of Moses, there's a lot of overlap here with the story of Moses. In fact, if you haven't already, I encourage you to check out that the video in this playlist from the Bible Project people on reading the Scripture series, Matthew chapters 1 through 13. I've got it paused here at 2:40 into the video. And really, it's interesting to notice that we're connecting, the author here, Matthew, is connecting Jesus to Moses. And there are a lot of parallels here. They're taken out of Egypt, and we see the water thing, and we see the 40 years in the wilderness versus 40 days in the wilderness for Jesus. And Moses receives the law from the mountain, and Jesus gives the law. So keep that in mind as you read these next chapters, that really the idea here is that Jesus is connected. Moses was sort of this type of Christ, or this picture of who Jesus would ultimately be. And Jesus is obviously greater than Moses. As great as Moses was, as huge of a figure as Moses was in the Old Testament, Jesus is greater than Moses. And so that's what we're learning here. And so that you're going to see just a lot of parallels to that Exodus story, which was so central to the Jewish people. But anyway, back to Jesus' story. When Herod died, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in Egypt. He said, "Get up, you can take the child and his mother back into the land of Israel, because those who are trying to kill the child are dead." And so they come back to Israel, and they end up settling in Nazareth, which fulfills what the prophet said, that he will be called a Nazarene. So you ready to read Matthew chapter 2? We'll see you tomorrow for chapter 3.